Welcome to the Being Blackbeard Podcast, a show for pirate geeks and TV fans about the show Crossbones. Here are your hosts, Phil Johnson, Tony Dijamco, and Richard Dreyling.
All right, swashbucklers, welcome to the first episode of this podcast where we are talking about the show Crossbones on NBC, the National Broadcasting Corporation. With me tonight are my co-hosts, Tony Dijamco.
Hey, hey.
And Rich Dreyling.
Hey, everybody.
So, we saw the first episode of Crossbones this week on NBC, and so far it's getting pretty mediocre reviews across the board. It's about a 58% on Rotten Tomatoes, and the reviews have been about the same from the critics. So, first thoughts from you guys. Why don't you start it off, Rich?
All right. First of all, I liked the show overall. Netflix said that I would be like a 2.5 stars. But, the shows that it was like, it's similar to Blackadder, obviously not like, in genre. But, there's a lot of stuff about it I really liked. I will say that the pacing of the pilot episode was pretty crazy, and that was something that I wasn't really a fan of. You know what I mean? Like, they crammed about what should have been like 5 episodes worth of material into a single episode. I don't know if it felt like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that too. And I thought, I don't know, my first impulse was that it looked like it was a show that really wanted to be on AMC or HBO.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were going for Game of Thrones and Sopranos and that kind of vibe.
Definitely.
And then every time there would have been boobs, they shot too high. Like you could see they were going for that and just knew what they weren't allowed to do.
That's true. Very true, man. There was one thing.
Half a star, if not it's 2.5. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Dude, there was one part. Maybe you want to get into this later, but there was one part where, where he's like, "Let me introduce myself," and then there was like the cutting. Like I was really surprised. You have these PG-13 movies out there like Hunger Games, Catching Fire, where they're they shoot a guy in the head. And you don't see, like, you see them shoot, and then you don't see where the bullet goes, but then they drag the guy away, and he doesn't have any blood on him.
Right.
And that has always been something that really pisses me off, because it's kind of like taking away the consequences of the violence. But what I did like about this show is, like, when somebody got their throat cut, you saw a blood spray. It was quick, but they didn't just ignore it.
Right.
I think you gotta give them some credit for that, because they weren't bitching out. Are we allowed to swear on here, Tony?
We are now.
All right, let's do it.
It's America, son.
All right.
Pirates didn't fight for our freedom. If I can jump in, a couple things. I haven't read too many of the reviews, but I actually thought the show was fantastic. I thought the pacing was great. I think the fact that it dove right in. And the violence in the very first 5 minutes was, I thought, pretty graphic when you're talking about throats getting slit and people getting stabbed in the throat. Not that that's what I'm looking for, but I appreciated the fact that they jumped straight in and were not hesitant or shy about it or trying to paint pirates as something great. I like the fact, actually, that they did put a lot into a first episode. I think a lot of people with first episodes, they think, well, we have to pace it out and let our characters develop. Not anymore. Shows, especially on network, you get 1 or 2 episodes to make your shot. You can get canceled at any time. So throw it all out in the first episode. I thought Malkovich and the Lowell character were great. These are intriguing characters going against each other, and sometimes, and I think you can see later on in the series, working with each other. Not to get sidetracked by another geeky show, but it reminded me of Orphan Black and how it started, where within the first 5 minutes, you know what this character is about. There's already drama going on, and you care and are interested in both of them. And if NBC cancels this before the series is over, I'm done with NBC.
That's like, my wife and I used to have this discussion, and it would be like, all right, so that was a good show. Did it ever make it to a second season? And the answer is almost always like no, or it got canceled too early. So I like this show a lot. So we can be guaranteed that we're going to do 3 podcasts and it's going to be over.
Right. Well, there's already three episodes scheduled for airing, so we know we're getting at least 3 episodes. They've already shot 10 of them.
Oh, wow.
So we should. I mean, they should. I imagine. I don't know why they wouldn't show all 10 of them. So there's that. But yeah, I think I thought the action right up front was cool. I also thought it looked a little bit network over cable, but I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah. But at the same time, it was a 10 o'clock show, so we did see some blood and things like that, which I thought was cool. And they did pack a lot into that first episode. One of the things I thought was a little bit odd was that John Malkovich's character comes off as almost a little bit weak, which maybe they're trying to set up on purpose because he'll come roaring back in episode 3 or something like that. Mm-hmm. But a lot of things not in his control seem to happen in this episode. What do you think of that?
Well, I thought one of the things I really liked about the character, and this is one of the things I think that makes a great villain, is that there's a sense of honor about them. Even though they are evil and they're willing to skin people, there's this line they have that says, "Oh, well, I won't cross this." I like the fact that when talking to the woman who's also trying to do the ciphering, he refers to her as Milady. There's a gentlemanly quality about him, and when he says he's giving his word to Lowell, you believe that he's giving his word to Lowell. Whatever psychological issues he's going through mentally with the visions, I like that air of vulnerability to him. So there is, to me, that just makes him more diverse. There's an evil side, there's an honorable side, there's a vulnerable side, and that's what makes a compelling character and villain.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Rich.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, I think that giving like some air of like humanity about him makes him kind of like lovable. There was that monologue he went on about to Lowe, and I think like the best evil characters, quote unquote evil, the best antagonists throughout history, like the ones that you can kind of get on, I guess, the history of film, not like, oh, Hitler was a great guy, I can see things from his perspective. I'm talking about like movie antagonists, okay? But like the best movie antagonists.
This conversation just took a turn, but okay, I'm with you.
The best movie antagonists. I'm gonna get quoted on that someday. Just like me running for. I was like, on this podcast, he said, "Quote, Hitler, didn't you see that was done in idiot voice? Come on, like just take the irony out of it." But no, like all the best.
Pro-pirate, do you want this man to be your counselor?
Exactly. But all the best villains have like you can see things from their perspective. Like they all think they're the hero. That's what I love about some of the Lex Luthors that we've seen over like throughout history, the ones that weren't just like crazy madmen. So here, you actually see a pretty good argument against the British Empire. Like when Blackbeard's talking to Lowe and he tells him like, I'm not a pirate. I'm not the devil. I'm escaping the devil. I thought that was a pretty awesome argument.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We were joking before as we were trying to put this podcast together for 2 hours before you actually fans are listening to it. I was joking about him being almost a teapot, but there is a libertarian. That speech I thought was very libertarian about like, hey, I'm just trying to be a free guy, free of government, free of people telling me what to do, and it's a compelling argument. And what you were saying also, I think there are two types of villains. There are the Lex Luthor Magnetos that you can kind of agree with. Not with the method, but in the mentality. Or there's the flip side with the pure chaos, the jokers, if you will. And I think Blackbeard is this evil guy who does these evil things, but you kind of understand where he's coming from, and he makes a good argument, and that's what makes him so great.
Absolutely.
I think another sort of, as you guys were talking about that, it made me think that so the vulnerabilities of the character play into the fact that this is John Malkovich playing this character who does not look like the traditional Blackbeard we expect. It's not the smoking beard and the big brawny thing. So that may be a legitimate play where they go, okay, he's now this sort of frail, well, not frail, but he's an older guy. He's not the Blackbeard that you expect him to be. So his personality is not going to be the Blackbeard you expect him to be either.
But I actually think that makes him even a little bit more terrifying because he's not this young, brutish character. He's older and wiser. And the scene later on where you see him doing the acupuncture, I think paints a guy who's may not be as physically capable as maybe his younger self, but is mentally far more advanced, which makes them a much more dangerous foe.
I agree.
Not to mention pretty manly to stick pins in your own head.
Yeah. Guy's insane.
I was like, oh, look, Hellraiser, yay.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to go back to something you said earlier, Phil.
Yeah.
About the show, how NBC's playing it. Is anybody else concerned that the fact that it is on Friday nights and it is at 10 o'clock in really the start of summer makes you feel like the network isn't like really behind the show as much as they could or should be?
Oh, it's a dead giveaway that they're not. Yeah, I mean, that's a horrible time slot.
Yeah, the Friday is the...
Especially for three comedians that need to report on it soon after.
Yeah. Exactly. No,
We're
absolutely.
all on stage when it's on, yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Pirate Bay.
Yeah.
Wait, did I say that out loud? I think the NSA is listening. But yeah, dude, like, the Friday night slot, I think, is a rough time slot, but I'm gonna depart from what Phil said, and I think if it was a Friday 8 o'clock, I would think they were trying to cancel it. But what I think like there's probably some 25-year-old brand new exec at NBC and he wants to prove himself, and he's like, we can get this demographic watch. And so he's trying to do the gritty thing, so they put it at 10 o'clock so they can show the blood. They can do a little bit more that they couldn't do elsewhere.
Sure. I would just be happier if it was on a different night of the week, possibly Sunday nights at 10, where I think there's far less competition. But it's just Friday, especially in May and June at 10 o'clock, that just sort of seems like, well, we've already made this. Malkovich's got his check. Let's just put it out there, which is a real shame because if I can backtrack once again, I love the dialogue of this show. There is a poetry to it, and the back and forth, I think, is really smart and crisp. And I've always been a big fan of shows with multiple characters, and I think when Phil posted this idea on Facebook, my response was, well, it's Pirates and John Malkovich. Of course I'm going to watch it. Right. But I really, after this first episode, I got to say I fell in love with this show. And because I said that, now it's probably being canceled as we speak.
Welcome to our first and last episode.
Yeah. For episode 2, we can actually have Malkovich as a guest because he has nothing else to do.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I like the dialogue a lot too. With the Friday night thing, I think Friday night has traditionally been sort of a dumping ground for shows they're not sure about. I don't have a problem with the 10 o'clock, but I would like to see it on a different night. Sunday might be good. I think it almost is more of a Tuesday or Wednesday late night show.
No, sure, especially during the summer. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's if more worried about it being on Friday night that they're just kind of dumping it out there. But it may be that they're testing it there, and if enough people are talking about it, such as the three of us, that they may move it into a better slot where we might actually be able to watch it in real time.
Now, you mentioned earlier how they filmed 10 episodes. I thought this was just they were doing a miniseries that if it took off, they would do another miniseries next summer. If this does really take off, would it be a full 22-episode episodic series, or would they keep it in 10-episode miniseries form over the summer, a la House of Cards does for Netflix and stuff like that? Or do you know if there's talk of making it a full?
I honestly don't know. What I saw on the Wikipedia page was that they had just bought 10 episodes, and so I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows if there's going to be more than that at the moment. It would be nice, certainly, but I think it'll be interesting to see. I mean, considering how much they packed into the first episode, I think they're going to get a lot of story arc into 10.
I agree.
10 spots.
Absolutely, I'm excited.
Yeah. Now, did you? I saw it being compared to a show called Black Sails on Starz. Have you guys, either of you, seen that?
No.
I've seen trailers for it. I was excited about the trailers, but I actually haven't seen the series yet. So.
Yeah, I haven't either, and it's actually Black Sails as about the same level of reviews, like on Rotten Tomatoes and such. So I don't, but I now I want to watch that one to find out what that's about.
We should do it and then compare and contrast, just like in high school. We could write a 5-paragraph essay and read it on the podcast. Pirate shows are really awesome. Some pirate shows are better than others.
What we have to do is find 3 comics. We'll do a podcast about that show, and then the 6 of us fight.
There
That'll
we
be
go.
awesome.
With swords.
Yes.
We'll fight, and then afterward we'll have a rap battle for no good reason. Just,
You've had me at rap battle. What rhymes with Malkovich? Damn it!
Yeah, right. Oh, that would be an epic rap battle of history.
you know, I think I'll tell you why they're not putting it on Sunday night, guys. Game of Thrones is Sunday night, and they're trying to get that same audience to tune into network television. Like more of them.
Yeah, that's very true.
Oh, and the other thing, do you know did you guys see the shitty Aragon movie?
No.
You didn't? Tony,
Aragon?
did you see Aragon? Yeah. Like, Aragon was a book that was written by a 16-year-old, like, probably 15 years ago or something by now. It was, like, right as I joined the Marines and shit. And, like, one of the guys that I was with read it and recommended it to me, so I started reading the books. And they made a Hollywood movie about the first book, but it was after, I think it was only the first book had been written, and maybe the second book had been written, but they continued on. And the books, like, basically the movie was so shitty and fucked up because they didn't follow the plot like they did, like, we're going to do Hollywood, and then we combined 3 characters and whatever. Well, those characters became, like, really important later on, so they could never do a second or third one. But in the book, there was the bad guy's name was, like, Galbatorix. I don't know. Don't quote me on the pronunciation, but in the movie, they had John Malkovich play him. And or Malkovich, I don't know how it's pronounced, but they had him play him, and it was like, I mean, when I see him play Blackbeard, I can see like some of that evil guy, but there was a lot less depth to the Aragon one, you know. So like, it's really cool to see him get to like flex all of his acting muscles.
Let's be honest, Malkovich is a great actor, but nobody does creepy and sinister better than Malkovich. He's got an intensity about him, and there's just, even though he's done some comedies, he almost out Christopher Walken's Christopher Walken. As far as like his creepy and intensityness, which I'm pretty sure is not a word. But it's just great casting. When you need like sinister dude who's going to scare you, Malkovich is your go-to guy.
Yeah, and he'll do it without a big smoky beard, which I think is even cooler.
What was your favorite line from Malkovich in this episode? I have mine, but I want to hear your guys's.
Yeah, I got no idea. I didn't really like pick a. Probably, I'm not the devil. I'm escaping the devil. Like that monologue is probably my favorite.
That monologue was awesome. My favorite line was when Fletch is trying to save Lowell, and he runs into Blackbeard's room, and he's surrounded by all these women, and he says, send in a boy. A novel idea.
Oh, yes, that was funny.
And he was like so down for it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like, very funny.
I just thought that was brilliant.
That was one of those shots. That was one of those scenes where I was like, oh, boy, do they want to be on HBO right now.
Oh, yeah.
Because they shot all those women from the shoulders up, you know. And I was like, okay, I see what's happening here. Now, speaking of books, this show is actually based on a book called Republic of Pirates by Colin Woodward, which I think I read a year or two ago and honestly don't remember anything about. Did you guys read it?
No.
No.
But I might read it now. Is it fiction or nonfiction?
It's fiction, yeah. It's sort of, so the whole thing is a fictionalized version of this sort of post-Blackbeard. Because, I mean, the premise is that he wasn't really killed. He just ran off hiding. So it's almost sort of a Back from the Dead story.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was it called again?
It's called Republic of Pirates by Colin Woodward.
Available on Amazon.com for $9.34 on Kindle.
There you go.
Now, and the author will be our guest next week.
Yeah. We gotta have an affiliate link now.
I know. If we were really set up, I'd have an affiliate link that I could tell everybody to click through. It's coming. It's coming. So, all right. So let's do this. 1-sentence prediction for episode 2. Go.
I think it's gonna be interesting seeing, like, Lowe's assignment was to kill Blackbeard, right?
Right.
And I think there's gonna be some major, like, deep shit going on around that, and I doubt that until the series ends that will actually happen. Because you can't, I don't give a shit, it's NBC, it's not Game of Thrones, they're not going to kill Ned Stark at the end of the first season.
No, there's no way they could possibly do that. That's why when they were doing the whole, I thought the trick with poisoning the pages of the book was pretty cool. And now
that was awesome.
Now somebody's going to try it in a library, but I did think that was cool. But I was like, well, of course they're not going to kill off Blackbeard in the first episode. It's the first episode.
But wouldn't that have been a great episode if they had? And you're like, oh my god, now what is this about? I guess he wins.
It's really about the quartermaster and his wife.
Yeah.
We just wanted to see what Lo did with that blue-eyed girl, and then.
Right. and that is my prediction. Lo bones the quartermaster's wife by the third episode.
This is actually all a setup for a spin-off called Fletch. But it's going to be tricky. There's going to be some copyright, but I think they can pull it off.
That would be horrible.
And then eventually the guy playing Lo becomes a giant asshole. Is that how that one ends? You said Fletch, right? All right, I got the right reference. I know what I'm talking about. But he's got to be a millionaire before they cast him. Like, he's got to be from a rich family. So he can be such an asshole that everybody hates him throughout his entire career.
We'll have to rename this podcast, but it's going to be interesting. To give a one-sentence description of what could happen next, I don't have anything. I was so, again, maybe I'm really more taken away with the show, but I was so blown away by the first episode they jammed so much into that first episode, like you guys were talking about. It's hard to imagine how they're going to have to follow this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But after that first episode, I'm confident about it. We'll see what happens this Friday, but I'm really hopeful, and I hope this carries on. And I like stuff like this. I like action adventure. I like with a sort of the storytelling of it all. And I was just, again, I cannot say how much I was impressed by this show, and I'm super hopeful of it, and I'm probably jinxing it every time I say how much I like it. But I'm crossing my fingers.
Oh, and it was shot so beautiful. It definitely didn't look like everything was done on a green screen. It looks great, and I think the acting in it's pretty phenomenal. So I would say the one thing you can count on happening in episode 2. You ready for this, Phil?
Yep, go.
The unexpected. It's just ridiculous. The worst cop-out in the world. It's like putting a show with John Malkovich in a Friday night slot at 10 o'clock.
The unexpected will happen. There will be dinosaurs in episode 2. All right, guys.
Will Ferrell's going to do a guest spot.
Which would be awesome. Can I bring up one last thing? Do we have to get going, or can I?
Yeah, go for it, Tony.
This is just something I thought about the first 5 minutes of the show, and I've seen this in other pirate movies. How all pirate movies always have to have like a black female member as part of their piratry, just to make them look, even though they're pirates, they're very politically correct. And they're still very balanced. There's probably a gay couple on the pirate boat, which would be awesome. There's going to be a wedding. Malkovich will perform. I just add balance Hollywood tries to throw out there. Well, these are the bad guys, but they have their code, and they have this very ideal way of looking at the world where everything is fair.
Yeah.
Again, guaranteed it's going to get canceled now.
Well, dude, I'm curious now. Now that you said that, I want to know if there were, in fact, if it was multicultural on, pirate crews, or if it was just whatever. Because, I imagine if you were an escaped slave, you would want to do that. But if you were an escaped slave woman, the only way you would do that is if you were, tough enough to kill anyone who tried to,
Yeah, and if you were an escaped slave woman, you'd have to be tough enough to be able to, swing with pirates. They probably didn't talk their way out of it. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, she's just cutting people up.
Actually, pirates invented affirmative action. I don't know if you know that. It's true. No.
The stuff that I've read, the only 2 really known female pirates were Anne Bonny and Mary Read, I think, were their names, and both of them ended up. They dressed as guys in order to get on the ships in the first place. So they weren't even really. Nobody knew they were women until later on. So I don't.
Hey, Phil, if we're gonna keep doing these podcasts, are you gonna keep bringing facts into it? Because it's gonna throw me off.
I have read many a book about pirate history.
I'm just kidding.
I'm that kind of nerd.
Well, the closest I got to pirate history was my Lego collection. So.
Well, right on, guys. This was a good first episode, I think. Why don't we plug some shows and we'll wrap it up. Tony, where are you going to be over the next couple weeks?
Depending on when this podcast comes out, I'll be at the San Francisco Punchline July 26th. I'll be headlining there, and if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Tony Dijamco, TonyDijamco.
Great. Rich, where are you going to be?
Awesome. I guess the 21st of May, if this is out by then, I'll be at the New Ring Theater in Moraga.
Already June. It's
21st of June.
Dude, you missed your gig.
Whatever. I just I like to spend. I don't even pay attention to the letters on the calendar, just the numbers. That's all. So yeah, I think it's the 21st, which is a Monday, Thursday, Tuesday. And I'll be there. I'm at Rich Dreyling on Twitter, which is RICHDREYLING. Oh, and on July 4th, you can find me hiding from the fireworks in my house.
Nice.
Have a good one, everybody.
I will be, June 6th, Friday, I'll be at the Washington Inn in Oakland. June 7th, I'll be at Winemakers in Livermore. And then June 19 to 21, I'll be at Snickers Comedy Club in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And on the 22nd, I will be at Fump Fest, the musical comedy festival in Wheeling, Illinois. Oh, and you can find me online, philjcomedy.com. That is my home base. So, anything else, gentlemen?
Can't wait for episode 2 this Friday.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Me too. This is great. All right. Thanks, you guys, for listening to episode 1 of our little podcast here. If you like what you're listening to, give us a nice 5-star review over on iTunes, and we will see you next week.
You've been listening to the Being Blackbeard Podcast. Visit us at beingblackbeard.com and be sure to subscribe and give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Arrgh!